Good morning and welcome to Love Every Moment, coming to you today from Glen, New Hampshire. Today's verse is the last verse of Matthew 5, that is verse 48. It says, "Therefore you are to be perfect, as your heavenly Father is perfect." Perfect? Really? Well, let's start into this. The first word is therefore, and as the old saying goes, if you see a therefore, you have to find out what it's there for. And so you have to look backwards a few verses to see the context. And as you know, the context recently was love your enemies. This is what leads to that perfection, when we can love so deeply that we could even love our enemies. I'm going to suggest that that is one of the signs of perfection. That is perfection, when we can get love that deep. And it also leads to the next section, which we're going to get to in Matthew 6, which talks about not making a show out of your Christianity, specifically in prayer and in giving and in fasting. So, therefore you are to be perfect, as your heavenly Father is perfect. It is a command. When we first see this, we often think, well, I can't possibly be perfect. I'm a human being. As the classic Christian bumper sticker says, Christians aren't perfect, just forgiven. But why would God tell us, be perfect? It's a command. Why would he command us something that can't be done? Let's look at a cross-reference and see if we can get a little more insight on this. Let's look at Colossians 2:8, and especially when we get to verse 10, that might give us a little more understanding. Verse 8 says, "See to it that no one takes you captive through philosophy and empty deception, according to the tradition of men," which we have a lot in the church, "according to the elementary principles of the world, rather than according to Christ." It's easy to be caught up in the ways of the world, and even in America, we have a lot of American traditions that don't exactly jibe with what Christianity is supposed to be, but we hang on to those. Verse 9, "For in him all fullness of deity dwells in bodily form." As the classic saying goes, Jesus was 100% God and 100% man. But now the verse I want to bring to our attention. Verse 10, the main part says, "And in him you have been made complete." Not you will be complete, you have been made complete. It's done. You are complete. And some people say, well, that's just our position, or that's just a spiritual analogy or something, but I'm not a perfect person. And I'm still going to pound this a little bit here. I was in a small Bible study once, and we posed the question, can a Christian really go without sin? And at first everyone said, well, no. But then I kept at it. I said, well, what about for 1 minute? Can we actually go without sin for just 1 minute? Maybe while we're praying or feeding the poor or something like that. And after we looked at that, we figured, yeah, we probably wouldn't be sinning while we are earnestly praying to God, sure. So if we could go 1 minute without sin, how about 2? How about 5? How about an hour? How about 3 hours? And so on and so on. Can we get to a point where we really, mostly for a time, don't sin? And now with this one, can we get to a point where we can be perfect for a time? I'm going to say yes. And it's not by any human effort. It's, again, when we give up all of our human rights and trust in him, we love him so much he can have it all. We've emptied ourselves of all humanity, all of our loves and desires and wants and needs, everything. Then he can come in. Basically, he does all the work. He does the love, the desires, the speech, everything. It's all his work. And that's when we're perfect, because it's really his work that's perfect. Isn't that amazing? That's what real perfection is loving him. Because if we love every moment, we're going to love every moment. I'm your average wretch, and I hope you have a good